recent meetings at the 2024 ATP Finals. Away from that to the WTA scene, where Coco Gauff's title defense at the China Open remains alive, but only after fending off a formidable challenge from Leylah Fernandez. The number 2 seed led by a 2-set and a break, then 5-2 with a match point and a decider, but ultimately needed 2 hours and 45 minutes to gut out a 6-4, 4-6, 7-5 third-round victory. Gauff had not dropped a set to Fernandez in 2 previous professional encounters, both on hard courts and one a junior meeting. Those matches had been characterized by the Canadians' inability to maintain the offensive level needed to hit through Gauff for an entire set. That changed on Diamond Court, where Fernandez produced nearly 3 hours of 4 high-quality front-foot tennis. However, the defending champion rose to the challenge after a knife-edge start to the 3rd set, which saw 5 consecutive service breaks. She pulled away, and then, despite Fernandez pegging her back and threatening to pull off a remarkable comeback, Gauff held her nerve in the final 2 games of the match. Gauff will face Belinda Bencic in the 4th round after the number 15 seed came from a set and a 3-1 down to defeat qualifier Priscilla Hon 6-4, 4-6, 6-3. Gauff leads. Away from that to the world of cricket, where Nigeria's hopes of qualifying for the 2026 ICC Men's T20 World Cup took a hit on Sunday after a commanding century from Jan Freelinch propelled Namibia to a 117-run victory in their opening match of the Africa qualifier in Harare. After winning the toss, Nigerian captain Sylvester, when his elder brother Isaac Okpe dismissed Marlon Kruger, battling masterclass from Kruger's opening partner, Jan Freelinch. In response, Nigeria's batting lineup struggled to match the required run rate. Opener Suleiman Runsewe topped scored with 28 before falling left before wicket in the 11th over. Captain Sylvester Okpe added 24 runs, but was caught by Nico Loti Eton as Nigeria's innings never found momentum. The Yellow Greens could only manage 118 for 9 after 20 overs, falling well short of the target. Freelinch was named player of the match for his dominant display with the bat. Despite the defeat, Nigeria remains in contention and will next face Kenya, coached by former international Steve 30 at the Takashinga Sports Club in Harare. On to the world of table tennis, where Nigeria's table tennis star Nketiah Aruna was eliminated from the WTT China Smash on Sunday after a 3-0 loss to Denmark's Anderlecht. The world number 14 sent the highest-ranked African player packing in the round of 64 after edging him in 3 sets. The first set ended 12-10, while the second and third finished 13-11. After the game, Aruna, who reached the round of 32 of the semi-final last year, admitted he faced a difficult opponent. The Nigeria star is expected to lead the country's 10-player contingent to the 2025 African Championships, which will be played from October 12 to 19 in Tunisia. He would be joined in the men's team by Taiwo Mati, Olajide Omotayo, 2-time West African champion Matthew Kuti, and rising talent Abdul Basit Abdul Fatai. The women's team features promising young players such as Favor Ojo, Aishat Rabiu, Kabirat Ayola, and Shukurat Ayelegban. Veteran Ajoke Ojomo will lead the squad as captain in Tunis. Well, to the world of football, where Gabriel Pounds, with a stoppage time, headed to end Arsenal's miserable run at Newcastle with a dramatic 2-1 victory. The defender, who had earlier appeared to catch Magpies goal scorer Nick Woltemade in the face with a flailing arm, struck in the 6th minute of added time at the end of a pulsating encounter at St. James Park. Mikel Arteta's men were trailing 1-0 to Woltemade's 34th minute header with 6 minutes of regulation time remaining, despite dominating for long periods. But after former Magpie Mika Merino equalized after 84th minutes, Gabriel's header ended a run of 3 successive defeats on Tina's side. It was little more than they deserved on an afternoon when goalkeeper Nick Pope denied the hugely impressive Eberechieze twice and Bukayo Saka and Julian Timber either side of an overturned penalty decision. But having come so close to winning it, defeat was a bitter pill to swallow for Newcastle boss Eddie Howe, who saw Tino Livramento carried off on a stretcher ahead of Wednesday night's Champions League trip to Union Saint-Gelo. Well, that's all we have for in Sports Wrap-Up. We'll take a very short breather. When we return, we'll have an extensive conversation with the guys joining the show. Do stay with us. Von Como. Nick Kruger.
Swift.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Paula Kanimo.
I never hear you.
Hello, good morning. Welcome to another exciting time. We talk about the best of stories in the world of sports. It is Sports Central. What a week to be back to talk about details that comes with it. And my name is Blyden Okem. And while the guys are seated with me ready for this one, when you talk about a table of greatness, always that moment and look at all the analysis and intricacies that comes with it. A part of a conversation would center around CAF Confederations Cup, which Nigerian teams, Kwara United and Abia Warriors, were beaten out at the first preliminary stage of it, where Rivers United found a way to go through the next round, and I'll be looking forward to face a Black Bull Football Club of Mozambique. It will be something to really look forward and talk about, as Finidi George gave insights about the qualification. We'll also look at English Premier League, what's really happening with Chelsea, and how are the fans coping with the situation. Meanwhile, Manchester United continues that war in La Liga. Real Madrid being beaten, Xavi Alonso having a first test of the Madrid derby. Barcelona also swinging and doing quite well moving forward. The world of tennis will be part of a conversation, and a world of cricket as well as table tennis. Sit tight, let's take you through the ride. It's not going to be a roller coaster ride, but it's going to be an exciting one. Whichever David, good morning, another week to be back, so good to see you.
Yes, a very delighting morning to return on the show this fine morning. Looking at what happened over the course of the weekend, a whole lot of sporting activities actually, caught my fancy, so I'll definitely keep it until when the conversation comes.
Oh, to David, keeping it for the right moment. Funny Tina, good morning. I don't know if you'll keep yours too.
Exciting day to be back. I'm excited to be here.
All right, the guys are keeping it simple, ready for the talking point and build up of it. And quickly, we'll start with non-football stories, and after we'll transcend to talk about the world of tennis and football stories, shall we? Let's begin with the world of cricket, definitely, and that's where we're going to, as Nigeria's quest for qualification suffered a slight drop when it talk about the Yellow Greens of Nigeria, the qualification, the ICC, a T20 qualification taking place in Zimbabwe, Harare in particular. And what the first game they played at the qualifiers got the better of Malawi. The second game had to be about Namibia, but they struggled a bit and couldn't get that victory, that conversation. Namibia thumping Nigeria, and Jan Frenlich being the main man that does the magic. Namibia had a 117-run victory in the opening match of the Africa qualifier in Harare. Well, Toby David, I'll start with you before Kanema Kufre against to join the conversation. Well, a build-up similar to what we saw with the girls, the female Yellow Greens, doing build-up to the games, they were doing quite well. But moving to the main qualifiers, we had stronger teams in Africa, the Four-Tied Alliance. Similar to the female Yellow Greens, the first game, they won it. And now for the Yellow Greens, the first game got a victory against Malawi, and now the second one against Namibia, the Four-Tied Alliance, and up next would be against Kenya. Disappointing, many would say.
Well, I think it's a very difficult, moment for the male Yellow Greens now. Looking at
the Yellow Greens.
The Yellow Greens,
absolutely.
Nigeria, rather looking at the quality of opponent they're facing at the qualifier stages. If you could recall, the last preparatory match before the start of the qualifiers, they lost. The last preparatory match, I could recall, I've forgotten the name of the nation now. And now I was also looking at the very fact that when those are preparatory games which could also in turn set the momentum ahead of the qualifiers. I did quite well in the first game, unfortunately, couldn't do better in the second game, which was also quite expected. But I think at the moment, all hope is not lost, because we're talking about the third game for the Yellow Greens of Nigeria at the moment. And if they get the better of their opponent in the third game, it will be quite, of course, something to look forward to. Maybe build momentum after that temporary setback. But at the moment, I'm also looking at the quality of, the opposing nation. I think they've also got quality players, as a matter of fact, to take on Nigeria. Nigeria, yes, one of the fastest developing nations as it has to do with the world of cricket. But I still do not think that the Yellow Greens are up there in terms of quality to face this other African contingent to make it through to the ICC World Cup. All
right, many postulation looking forward to what could happen next. Nigeria still in contention, talking about the Yellow Greens of Nigeria. But up next, let's join a cricket specialist, a journalist, renowned one in that regard, who joins the conversation this morning. Kanema Kufre joins the conversation to give us insights on the possibilities of the Yellow Greens qualifying for the World Cup, the T20 World Cup. Kanema Kufre, good morning. So good to have you be part of the show today.
Good morning, Blyden and the studio team. It's been a wonderful experience for Nigeria at Harare. We are expecting to come out with the ticket at the end of the day.
Well, many expectations from Nketiah Kufra there. Well, let's start from it. You saw the first game against Malawi, Nigeria getting that victory. Many would say not surprising, but moving to the next one, another top cricket country, Namibia. A bit of struggle for Nigeria, losing this one with Namibia propelling and having a 117-run victory against Nigeria. One star player, we're talking about Jan Freling, being the defense. Well, you've seen it. You are a key person all over Nigeria making the reports regarding this, and everyone is following your details regarding the games that are taking place. Nigeria's had the winning toss. A Nigerian captain, Silva Okwe, had to start in it. Let's start by talking about that particular game, what you made of it, and talk about the chances of Nigeria possibly qualifying to the next level of the competition, and knowing fully well they have Kenya next, another top cricket country comparatively to Nigeria.
Okay, I'm glad to say that we are still in the race for the contest for the sole ticket in that group because we have our first point when we defeated Malawi on the last game, that was last Friday. So this time around, the defeat to Namibia was a shocker because the captain, Sylvester Okwe, went into the toss. He was lucky, he won the toss, but he was using the same game plan against Malawi into the game of Namibia. But unfortunately, Jan Freilich turned out to be the thorn in the flesh for Nigerians because he was not able to be dismissed until the 15th over, almost getting into the 16th over. So for Okwe, it must have been a mistake, but he did rightly say that it was an experience that they have went from to go into the next game. He came up with a bowling plan, but that bowling plan did not work like it worked out. Nigeria done for the fielding, a superior fielding side when it comes to Africa cricket ranking and the whole tournament, sweeping everything. But when we bring in these East Africans, the South Africans who have more experience, and the European and Asian mix in their team, they always have a clinical experience against us. So had it been our boys were able to dismiss Jan Freilich on a good time, we would have still had the day. Because the Malawi game, Malawi is equally a good side, but you have seen that they had gone on to beat a country like Kenya. So we are still in the race anyway to make it to the top two of the group and then go into the playoff.
Talking about the fact that Malawi were able to get the better of Kenya, which opens up a lot even further, and Nigeria takes on Kenya. You've rightly said that Nigeria struggles against East African and South African side, and Kenya is another one now. What do they need to correct next, considering the fact that Malawi also a top side when it has to do with cricket, but it got the better of Malawi, and they faltered their lines against Namibia. Many would say maybe a time to correct the mistake against Kenya. Can they do it?
Sylvester Okwe and the boys are very determined to beat me. Don't forget our coach is talking about Steve Tikolo. He will bring in his best. The boys were under him, and they want to reenact what he used to do for Kenya in those days in our batting department against Kenya. So if we defeat Kenya, there's a chance that we can finish top two of the group and qualify for the playoffs, where the chance is still bigger. And then we also hope that Malawi can beat Namibia or whatever other happens. Cricket, we don't have a draw. We just want to finish second in the group. So everything will play out tomorrow at the Katashinka Cricket Club in Harare, tomorrow by 1:50 local time. So we will surely have to hope on the boys giving their best like they did in the first game and then take the maximum point, which is 2 points.
Of the tournament taking place. Let's have a look at the fixture of the tournament. When Nigeria are playing next, I hear they're playing tomorrow against Kenya and other games that are taking place. And while we're anticipating the details of that fixture, we'll also get to hear from the captain of the Yellow Greens after the game against Namibia, which they lost. Spoke a lot about what happened, the difference that took place. Let's hear from the captain of the Yellow Greens. Had to give a respondent to this one now, talking about Sylvester Okwe. Let's hear from the captain.
I felt with our bowling, we didn't quite execute the way we wanted, and that alone brought us on the back foot.
And then looking at how you guys tried to come back with the ball later on, do you believe you should have brought that lad a little bit earlier? It might have changed things?
Yeah, when the game goes like that, some point you start to think I should have done better. But at the end, we'll back ourselves with the decisions we made.
Positives that you take from this game?
Yeah, there are quite lots of positives. The way the laddie bowled, the way we tried to bring it back, because it was looking. The Namibian guys were looking to get more than what they got, and then the way we batted, I felt there was more intent with the way we went about it.
All right, good luck in your next run.
Thank you very much. There was more intent with the way we went about it.
All right, good luck in your next run.
Thank you very much.
Sticking with you, we've heard the captain. He really spoke about the batting concern for the side, and we see it's been a problem with Nigeria. Even the female yellow green struggled in terms of batting, but when it has to do bowling, it's a different ball game to have it. Is it the same case with the yellow greens, and how do they get to solve this one? Put that side by side with a projection. You think Nigeria will qualify beyond being patriotic now? You think Nigeria will be able to beat Kenya and probably get to finish second at the tournament?
Okay, Tikolo and the crew in the high performance activity has been trying to groom the boys to bring up the A game as far as batting is concerned. I recall also a former technical director, Okonupong, has always emphasized that we need to bring up the coaches at the grassroots to speed with the reality that we do not have good batting when it comes to international level. So that he has proposed that right from the grassroots level that the coaches should do a lot to understand the type of batting system that we need to bring to bear with our players as we groom them. And also looking at the reality that the game has evolved so much, and we have been playing more of T20 games in Nigeria than a longer version of game that test our patience and test our experience in the crease, like the South African and the East African countries. So we need to invest more in cricket competition and also bring in more time, not rushing out T20, T10, but a version of cricket that can make our batters able to anchor well, like you saw the young guy playing alone, contributing 134 runs for his own country. That alone devastated Nigeria. That alone set the pace that they are certainly going to win. So if we have people like that in Nigerian batting order who can have that patience to face the ball, not rushing it out, we can be certain to go to the World Cup anytime, any season. And in fact, we can upgrade to a test playing country very soon. So basically what we need to do is what the NCF has done now. We need to be continuing with that, be consistent with it, and have good people employed into the high performance and give the boys more time to play. That way we will bring out a good result when it comes to our batting.
All right, Academy Okofre, thank you very much. A fantastic thought there regarding the world of cricket and possibilities of the Yellow Greens qualifying for the World Cup. They need to finish second in that group, and you're saying it's possible they can do it. Well, possibility is nothing. Thank you very much for being a part of the conversation this morning.
Thank you, Bladder, in the studio.
Well, we hope to have you probably tomorrow after the game against Kenya, and see a look at what the details could be for them moving forward. Thank you. Well, fantastic talking point, guys. We've heard what Academy has really talked about. We've seen the indices, despite the fact that many people really think it could be still dicey, just as it was when the female yellow green also played at this tournament. But let's move ahead, and quickly we'll go to the world of table tennis. Before I get to talk about tennis, and for the thing, I'll come with you when it has to do with this one. Aruna Quadri of Nigeria superstar in the world of table tennis, was eliminated at the WTT China smash on Sunday after a 3-0 loss to Denmark's Ada Lins. And the world number 14, who's been the highest ranked African player, packing in the round of 16 after aging him in 3 sets. Well, 12-10, while the second set and the third set finished 18-11 for Aruna Quadri. It sounds like same old story for him.
Well, I think for Aruna Quadri, this year has been very, very devastating. He's not really had the best of table tennis this particular year. And the next competition is going to be the African Contender Series starting in October. And he has to lead the Nigerian delegation right there And I think it's quite sad because it comes at a period where Ronald Quadri you might say the lowest of his lows now because he's not doing quite well for himself. And now coming to the Nigerian delegation, he might just transcend from his personal struggles and now bring it to the national team. So at the end of it, I would just say it's just that year where he's not doing well. I just hope it's not the end because when you see a gradual decline in this manner, it actually calls for concern because it's just been a very, very bad year for him. He's not gone past the second round of any competition he's played in throughout this year. That's how bad it is. So it shows that Arono Quadri has to do more, or probably it's just the end of the road for Arono Quadri.
Getting to the twilight of his career age, not so much on his side is that conversation. Well, it's a story for Arono Quadri. Many hopes that he gets to perform quite well, or probably Nigeria gets to bring some kind of prodigy that becomes in the Arono Quadri and do quite well for Nigeria at the biggest stage of competition. Still talking about, this time not tennis, but in the water sport, we'll be looking at not table tennis, but looking at tennis then. And while the China Open is taking center stage at the Asian swing, looking forward to the year-end competition. And Coco Gauff had to survive Laila Fernandez in a 3-set thriller to keep title defense alive. Still at the China Open, we saw Mirandreva keeping her cool and advancing in Beijing. An epic tie-break pushes Anisimova into round of 16. Well, Jasmine Paulin defeating Kenin for the first time in 4 meetings into Beijing last 16. Still in the China Open. And we switch gear and also look at the Tokyo Open, Tokyo 2025. Carlos Alcaraz, just as you heard during the sports wrap-up, Alcaraz had to rest past Nakashima in Tokyo, moving even further to the next round of it. And Alex de Minaur also is into the semi-finals after Mancic had to retire in this one. Well, reports also indicate that Novak Djokovic is in Sinner's half at the Rolex Shanghai Masters Open. Well, the Masters Open also being one of the biggest competition when it has to do it with the Asian swing. And many postulations and many things to look forward to in the coming days in the world of tennis. It would be a thick conversation looking forward to the year-end competition. But we'll switch gear to the world of football, as we said, to go on that break. Well, we'll be going on that break now. When we return, football takes center stage. We'll talk about all the basic game of football and the heightened part of it. The Under-20 World Cup taking center stage. We'll also look at a case of Chelsea Football Club and what is happening to Chelsea Football Club. So I'll beacon you to stick around. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back at Sports Central. And my name is Bladder. We're diving funny tonight, still with me for company. And we're looking at football stories around the world and the intricacies of it. And we begin from the Nigerian scene. Well, it would be the NFF and the postulation looking at the General Assembly. While Oyo State Governor Seyi Makinde has advocated for a single 5 to 6 year term for NFF president. And he's saying, David, it would do us more good in terms of preparation, in terms of looking at grassroots development, infrastructural development, and the transition between one NFF president to the next. If the term is a 5 to 6 year single term instead of a 4 year term where you can go back for a second term, just like it's in politics. We've seen before now, just as he stated during the opening ceremony of the General Assembly, and he said, look, before now, there's always a battle because the next NFF president, most times the NFF president don't stay for 2 years. So handing over to the next president is always such a battle. But if we have a single term, we won't have those issues. And he praised the Amaju Pinnick era for having a good transition to Ibrahim Ghazal's era. And he said, look, maybe because Amaju Pinnick had his 2 terms, so it was quite smooth. We've not really had that fight that's taken place with the NFF in recent times, but this projection from Seyi Makinde, the governor of Oyo State, is something we should run with.
Well, I think, first of all, I'm actually looking at the clauses. So that certainly means if the NFF actually look at their constitution and make it 5 years or 6 years, that means we won't have second term for that particular president.
And that's what he's saying.
So I think it's a good idea, basically, because the back and forth we've actually have in the NFF, elections over time has always been the case of going back to a second term in office, particularly. And when you look at the NFF president not doing quite well, maybe the first term in office, just a few months before the elections, they start trying to put things in order just to pass a second term election. Usually, of course, bring a whole lot of rancor among the NFF, members. But I'm also looking at it this way as well. An NFF president comes in, whether he does well or not, he knows he's staying for 6 or 5 years. So you definitely feel redundant, not doing anything.
But what's the motivation of doing well? Yeah, that's what he's saying.
Yes. So
he said, "Have won the election."
Yeah,
maybe he's a bad egg, and he said, "Well, I'll stay for 6 years and make lots of money at the end of it and leave the scene."
Absolutely. So I think that's the only disadvantage at the moment. But if I look at the disadvantage, I think it's even more than the advantages. So I'll still stick with the 4-year term and not the 5 to 6 years.
Funny that I agree to it. Maybe they get it reduced from 4 years and make it 3 year and 3 year next in case you qualify. So you'll be motivated to work.
Yeah,
well, I think this call comes at a very wrong time. A lot of people have been calling for the resignation, not even going for a second, the resignation of the current NFF president.
Why?
Because under his tenure, we've had very bad, football in the country. In the CAF Confederation Cup last year, we had our contingent crashed out in the preliminary stage. Champions League, the same thing. None of them made it to the group stage apart from Enyimba Football Club.
Is that directly the fault of the NFF president?
It falls under the tenure of his leadership. So that's why people are calling for his resignation. During the annual general meeting when it was called for, unfortunately we could not come on the show that particular day. The Swan contingent of it they pulled out from this particular meeting. They did not attend the meeting.
Why?
Because they are calling for his resignation.
Okay.
Ibrahim Gusau has been a failure compared to what we had under the previous president, Amaju Picnic. Under Amaju Picnic, it was quite better than what was happening under Ibrahim Gusau.
It seems like it's the same thing with politics. When one lays what Amaju Picnic was, everyone said Amaju Picnic was so corrupt, so terrible, and they've not really been corruption about Ibrahim Gusau. But the performance of the Super Eagles is a big pointer to it. I think that's it. But under his watch, the Super Falcons have won the WAFCON and performed quite well. The coach also nominated for the Ballon d'Or. So that's also a positive. On the other hand, look at it. Maybe the decision of a choice of coaches or what could be a problem for the organization. Is it just about the NFF president?
I think it's just basically the Super Eagles of Nigeria, because I will fault him for the likes of Remo Stars and the rest of other teams not doing well on the continent. I think the basic problem here is the fact that Nigeria on the brink of not qualifying for the World Cup for the second.
It didn't start now.
Yeah, it didn't start now.
Yeah.
But I think under his leadership, we also had changes in coaches. Think about 3 different faces since he was appointed as the NFF president.
So you think he's doing fine?
Basis. Sorry, I didn't.
You think he's doing fine?
Well, I would say he's completely doing fine at the moment. He's also got lapses.
Because
I was actually going through Fon's points about the issues surrounding Nigeria representative on the continent of Africa, especially club sides. I won't put that on him, but I'll put the fact that
so you put it in NPFL or just the club sides themselves?
Club sides, they have been terribly poor. I mean, the quality of players have actually admitted in recent times to play for them. They have been poor, far from convincing. So it is not on the NFF precedent. But I think the Super Eagles case at the moment is a very big call that they're not doing better.
All right, and not doing better. I'm funny to know David is giving that point a little here, a little there when it has to do with the NFF president, Despite Swan, calling for him to resign. Well, he still had to finish his term, a 4-year term, is it? And afterwards, we'll see what happens. Maybe the next NFF president comes on board. But the sad reality in Nigeria, I remember when Janet Roy was a coach of it, a Nigerian said, we don't love, he's qualified Nigeria for the World Cup with ease. He said, we don't love this man, he's not playing beautiful football. And Janet Roy left. Jose Pizarro came, I say terrible coach, and he got to the team to the final of the AFCON. And I said, come on, this man is not doing well, it could be better. Now, Eric Shells, he's not doing well. Finidi George and the next now. It seems to be something typical with Nigeria. When the man leaves, we say probably that man was better than this one we're having now. Well, let's move on and talk about the Nigerian Football League that took place over the weekend, the MPFL games that took place. We saw Barak FC picking up a first win and Shooting Stars dismantling Warri Wolves. One final start with you in this one. We've seen some of the result, but let's start with Barak FC. They've gotten their first victory in this one. Warri Wolves being beaten by Shooting Stars away from home. Bendel Insurance won, Bayelsa United won, Plateau United won, El Kanemi 0 and Nasra United 2, Katsina United United 0. Kun Khalifat losing to Barak FC away. Barak FC winning it away from home. First win for them against newcomers also.
Well, I think good news for Laden Bosu since he took over the realms of affairs at Barak FC. It's not really been rosy for the man, but finally got their first win away from home to also struggling Kun Khalifat. Do you remember at the start of the season, Kun Khalifat FC came out to ask for sponsors, said they needed about, how much was that again? I think it was a very humongous amount of money, and now they're not even trying to show that we can play football so you can even bring your money. Who's going to put his money in a sinking ship? That's the question now. And I think Kun Khalifa needs to do more. I think this season they've picked only 1 point, and they sit bottom of the MPFL table, so it's quite sad for them. For Barra FC, I think they are going to build on this particular win. The newly promoted sides have been having very, very different runs. Wari Wolves, Wiki Tories in the top half, and Barra FC and Kun Khalifat in the bottom half of the table. So maybe we might just see another newly promoted side finishing in the top 4 at the end of the season. Also for Imba Football Club, still unbeaten this particular season.
That's for a draw.
Yeah, they sit second. So probably we might just get Imba FC being so dominant, throughout the season, because we are having lots of positive results from them. Last season we had the likes of Brownie there coming out to criticize the management of the team, and this particular season they decided to step up and do better. I think it's always a good way to go for them.
Oh, it's a good way to go for them. And quickly, let's go to the CAF Champions League and talk about the one that concerns us. It would be Rivers United qualifying and Stephen Manio's strike sending Rivers United into the second round of it. And well, it seemed like the only positive for a Nigerian side in this one. Rivers United standing tall. Big concern in the Confederations Cup for some of their lads. Well, with David, let's start this one. A 1-0 victory for them after the first leg ended 0-0.
A very good win for Rivers United after, of course, Ubon Friday's strike. A rebound right there. Also had Steve Mayo head the ball in the back of the net, and that was just a difference for the side that the nest of champions, to go through to the next phase of a competition. And I think it's quite good. I can recall sometime I was actually having a conversation with a friend, and he stated that Nigerians are not fortunate enough to be having their first game away from home. It has always been at home, but this time around Rivers United, of course, pulled that draw away from home.
Yeah, it could be a factor. I always talked about it.
Yeah, it
could be a factor, yeah.
Well, I do not know how consistent that could actually be to prove Nigerian teams going through to the next stage. But I think it was a very good one for Rivers United. A draw away from home and victory at home. Now to the next stage.
Says, let's see how far they go. But a sad story for Kwara United, because they played the second leg at home. It didn't work out for them. Being beaten at home by Kotoko of Ghana after the first leg. We thought probably a 4-3 a 3-light was, and the coach was talking tough and said, let's meet in Nigeria and see what happened. They came to Nigeria the first time we talking about a Ghanaian side beating a Nigerian club side and Nigerian so on.
Very sad for Kwara United. I think they were one of the teams Nigerians expected to go to the next round of this competition.
Yeah, after the performance in Ghana.
So, but they're really, I was very disappointed. They didn't even score a goal at home. That's very sad. When you play at home and you don't score goals. That's why I keep advocating for teams who've gone to these competitions before, because there's no how you would have that experience, you'd do better. Kwara United, their first time. Abia Warriors, their first time. Look at how it ended for them. So probably we should have teams who have the experience in this particular competition keep going time and time again. It's always better. What do they call it? The devil you know is better than the devil you don't know.
The devil you know is better than the devil you don't know. Well, Abia Warriors was the case, going away from home against Joliba FC and being beaten 1-0 on aggregate, a 2-1 victory for the away side. Well, it's that conversation on. Quickly, let's look at the World Cup. Flying Eagles of Nigeria will be playing Norway at the World Cup. The Under-20 World Cup stacked with good names in there. A mix of fortunes in terms of foreign-based players that are being part of it. The likes of Daniel Daga joining the side and a host of others. And now against Norway 14 times, the Nigerian side will be featuring at this tournament. They've been runners-up twice, 1989 and 2005. Can they go all the way at this time? Now, the coach had said there have been changes with the side, but I have Norway to face today with David.
I think it's very difficult to start projecting where exactly they will finish in the tournament. But I think I will actually draw my conclusion from the last friendly game they had before the start of this particular competition, where they were able to score 3 past their opponent. Fortunately, we had the media officer join us on radio on Saturday, and he talked about the positivity in camp as well, with the likes of Daniel Daga also joining the team on Friday. So I just feel that with that friendly match, an eye opener, Nigeria can actually score goals in the tournament. They should take that same momentum, of course, to the game which starts today for them. I can only just wish them all the best.
Well, many wishes for them. All the best. It's that conversation from Nketiah David before we get up close. Time not always on the side when it has to do with this game. But let's see the next 2 minutes what we can do with it and try to do a catch-up, stacks of stories to talk about. We've not really looked at European stories, but we go to Europe. Cordiams also scoring and giving Sevilla a victory against Vallecano. And Gift Monday was such a difference for her side now. We're talking about a first-half hat-trick in his team 4-0 win over Houston Dash. She plays a club football for a Washington Spirit. Well, quickly, let's see how we wrap this conversation in the Premier League. Well, Ruben Amorim, Fonitina, your Ruben Amorim is still on face with what's happening with Manchester United. They said, well, if the board don't like it, he's not changing his system. He said, they don't like it, they change the manager. But another struggle for him being beaten by Brentford 3-1.
I wish he was my Ruben Amorim because he would have been sacked by now if I had that power. Well, I just feel it's quite sad that the man keeps doing the same thing time and time again. It's not working. At the game against Chelsea, I would continue to say it was a luck game because without that red card, probably would have been a different story entirely. And I think Sergeant Ratcliffe understands that because he talked about that recently in an interview. He talked about the fact that Ruben Amorim has a clause in his contract where you have to pay him 12 million if you get to sack him in his first year. So it's still his first year. So probably Manchester United fans have to make do with this man until December because your owner is a very prudent man. Maybe the Saudis should have just taken over Manchester United.
Here is the statistics. If Ruben Amorim was here at the start of last season for Manchester United, they would have been relegated by now in terms of points tally gathered.
Quite a sad one. Well, let Gabriel Winner sees Arsenal in a comeback win against Newcastle. They're going through the comeback, but the rest continues for the Premier League title. Chelsea also had to pass votes of confidence on Madagascar despite lost. It would be a conversation I thought we'll have time to really talk about it. Liverpool handed first loss at Palace. It seemed like it was forthcoming because they were picking let wins, and finally Palace had to stun them. Absolutely. I had to be a late equalizer for them. Nketiah, late winner. It could have been anywhere at the end of it. Aston Villa getting a first win of the season against Fulham. And Atletico handed Alonso first loss of the season in Madrid derby. I would have loved to have this conversation with Fonitina if we watched the game, but time wouldn't permit us. And Barcelona returning to the top of the table with suicided win. And we're talking about Pulisic firing Milan past Napoli to a Serie A, a top sport. AC Milan seemed like a different kind of AC Milan. Lots of players leaving the side, but returning to victories. Basic that conversation it is. Thank you guys. Sadly, we can dwell on European stories and talk about it. Tomorrow is another day. We'll talk about more of it. Thank you to David for being a part of it. Valentina, thank you. And well, it's that conversation. We bounce here. Thank you for being a part of it. You at home. My name is Blader Kim, and we bounce.